Season's greetings and welcome to another Paint With Me. Today we're painting a Christmas truck. For this painting I'm using a stencil with heavy-bodied acrylic paint, starting with titanium white, burnt umber, and later we'll also use fire red, emerald green, and Mars black. The brushes I'm using are a 1.5-inch nylon brush and one of these flat brushes. I'm also using a paper plate, but I prefer styrofoam because it doesn't soak up the paint like the paper does. But this is what I had on hand. So I'm starting with a large amount of white and some burnt umber. I'm doing 5 paintings today for some handmade Christmas gifts, so I was generous with my paint today. I'm going to start by painting a faux weathered wood background with a whitewash finish. First, I will variegate the paint on the brush and use the horizontal strokes to simulate the wood grain. Notice that some of my streaks are darker than others, and the variation makes it look a lot more realistic as wood grain. Now let us focus on the holidays, having fun, coming together. Next, I will dot on the burnt umber and dry brush over the dots to simulate the knots. Be careful not to blend them in too much. The more variation you have in your shades, the better it will look. On the first painting, I started with very light dots, but as I painted the next few paintings, I realized that the darker the dots were, the more they looked like knots. So I came back to the first one and added darker knots.
We're staying warm, and the star will always shine. It's the season for all times, walking in our midnight wonderland. Everything is calm, now it's midnight. Everybody's sleeping, all is peace, and I'm still in a house that's filled with lights, walking in our midnight wonderland, walking through a midnight wonderland.
You may notice here that I got a little more burnt umber on the brush than I needed, so I picked up some white paint and blended around those knots a bit. Next, I'm going to paint the space between the slats of wood. I want to get a little water on my brush and thin out the paint to an ink consistency. I'm testing it out on the plate before I put any paint to canvas.
Somewhere in the distance, drums are calling, but no one.
I can usually gauge where the center line is, but if you have trouble with the center line or drawing straight lines, just measure and mark each side of your painting and use a ruler to pencil in the lines first. That'll help a lot.
How we long for you, Christmas, oh Christmas.
I'm adding a little more water to the brush as I go and checking the consistency each time I load the brush. You want a nice thick line. If it's too thin, it will not have the same effect.
As I walk through the streets of my old hometown,
on this day, I had to go to a Christmas dinner at the church, so I'm storing the paint in a gallon Ziploc bag to keep it from drying out while I'm gone. After the background is completely dry, I'm ready to stencil. You can use foam brushes, but I found 6 of these lightweight foam sponges for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and I'm cutting one of them into thirds. I'll only need 1 sponge for this project. I put the rest of those sponges back in my painting supplies for another project. So this hobby does not have to cost you a lot. If you're careful, you can have everything you need for very little money. This type of foam is great for stenciling because it soaks up the paint and releases it as you press down on the canvas. It gives you a lot of control over the paint. The most important thing to remember when stenciling is to press straight down and use thin layers. If you use thick paint or swipe the paint, it's going to get underneath your stencil and mar the detail. So just use real thin layers and go straight down.
It's white outside and the night is cold.
Don't worry if you're getting a little of the wrong color in places. You can always layer over that.
In their homes. Yes, it's Christmas. It's a magic time. You can feel it in the air. That every child got their hearts filled up with joy. Yes, it's Christmas all around. All snow is falling down, all the colored lights lighting up this town. And as I walk outside, hear the Christmas choir sing Merry Christmas to you. This time of
The nail guard type sponges have an extension on the top, and I'm unintentionally collecting some paint there. So I'm going to clip off that extended part and use it later to stencil in the lettering. You can easily shape these types of sponges with scissors to suit your needs.
with so much love and with joy and laughter, let us make memories that stay forever. It's Christmas today. All snow is falling.
I'm also using the other side of the brown sponge for black paint, so I don't have to use a second sponge. For this particular stencil, I'd recommend doing darker colors first and then the lighter colors last. This way, if you do get some black or brown where the red should go, you can easily cover that up using a second layer of red. In this painting, though, the overlapping colors make the painting look more rustic anyway. A little black on the red might indicate dirt from the tires that was slung up onto the wheel well.
Angels we have heard on high.
So here's our finished Christmas truck painting. I used a couple different colors to customize them for different members of my family. I hope you enjoyed watching the video and it helps spread some Christmas cheer. Thanks for watching. Bye.